Hi, I'm Sean from BetterHR, and we're here today talking about people management issues, in particular issues affecting people in the retail sector. I'm joined by Weda Ringo. How are you?
Good, thank you, Sean. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Weda is a qualified employment lawyer and a senior HR advisor here at BetterHR. So who better than to help us answer some of these questions?
Yes, I've had plenty of experience with multiple businesses, and I'm looking forward to getting into it with you today.
Excellent. So let's start with, I suppose, the most important question would be, why would someone in the retail sector need to worry about the Retail Industry Award?
It is important because it sets your minimum requirements for your employees. All employee-related matters are found within the award. So you want to know what is in there, what are your obligations to your employees, and what can and can't you do in terms of payments, in terms of working conditions, in terms of status, the type of employees they are. So it's important that you look into the retail award to know what your obligations are.
Okay, so what would happen if I didn't follow the things that are inside that award?
There are very heavy penalties that are involved with different areas in the workplace relations space if you fail to follow through with your obligations as an employer. So you definitely want to make sure that you do not get those penalties, which might include some criminal charges as well.
Okay, impact pay claims and things like that.
Correct.
Okay, so how would anybody ever know? Like, assuming I'm doing these things and I'm sort of like, not following these rules, how would I ever get caught?
Your employees, for one, will try to find out why they're not being paid right, or if they are being paid right, why some of their entitlements are not being reflected in their pay slips, for example, and they might make a complaint to the federal ombudsman, who might investigate you, and that would lead to further investigations into your business. So that's why. Auditors, inspectors, etc.
So lots of different ways they can find out.
That's it.
Probably more and more these days with all the media and stuff.
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so some of the questions we've sort of been asked regularly, just because to sort of help people who are listening. One of the things then is looking around, so the difference between ordinary hours and overtime.
Ordinary hours are generally 38 hours a week. For part-time employees, they have a special way of looking at ordinary hours as well, because they generally have less than 38 hours to classify as a part-time employee. So they are provided with a span of hours per day.
Yep.
So they provide their availability to an employer, and an employer would have to roster them according to their availability and according to the agreed number of guaranteed hours for the day.
So like you rostered on for a 4 or a 5 or...
Correct. So a part-time employee might say, I'm able to work on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. If you require to roster them outside those hours, you might be opening up yourself to overtime.
Okay.
Correct. Unless, obviously, it's mutually agreed. There's a little disclaimer there that if it's mutually agreed, then it's all right to change
So
the
there is
hours.
some flexibility.
There
but
is
it's
some
important
flexibility,
that
correct.
you meet those
But it's
terms.
important that you understand the differences between overtime and ordinary hours. Overtime would be all the hours worked outside the 38 hours per week. And for part-time employees in particular would be outside the span of hours. Again, if it's mutually agreed, then that would be within the 38 hours span. Anything over that would be overtime. But generally speaking, if it's not mutually agreed and you're directing your part-time employee to come to work outside the span of hours, it'll trigger overtime.
Okay, so then what would be the difference between, say, overtime and penalty rates?
Overtime, again, are hours worked outside 38 hours, whereas in penalty rates is payment paid on top of their ordinary hourly rate because they worked past, say, midnight, because they worked on a public holiday, because they worked on a Saturday or Sunday. So the rates for between overtime and penalty rates, are different as well. So it's important for an employer to know the difference between these two so that they pay appropriately. So if you have an employee, for example, who works their ordinary 38 hours on a Saturday, for example, they would be paid 150% of their ordinary rate per hour for that Saturday. Whereas if this employee had already worked their 38 hours and are coming in for an extra shift on a Saturday, you'd be paying them 175% for work time worked on the Saturday. That is overtime and not penalty rates.
Okay, so then just so I make sure this is clear for people, first you would need to determine what your minimum rate of pay is.
Correct.
You would then need to work out the span of hours a person would work within the award.
If they're a part-time employee, correct?
Yeah. Then you have to be conscious of when they're potentially entitled to overtime.
Correct.
And potentially when they're entitled to penalty rates.
Correct.
Is there anything else that they would potentially be entitled to under the award in terms of sort of pay in particular?
Yes, so obviously that is excluding the allowances, etc., that they might be entitled. This is strictly based on the hours of work.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so it's important then, I suppose, understand the award of each of these provisions and when they apply.
Correct.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay, so then my next question is that JobKeeper has recently ended. So a lot of employers are now without that safety net of having wages covered for their employees. They've had this sort of protection for the last 12 months to sort of assist. What are the sort of things they should be aware of now? If, for instance, their balance sheet has started to dry up a bit, their income hasn't been coming in, that their expenses have continued, they have employee entitlements sitting there. What sort of things should people be really asking themselves now with regards to that situation?
Yeah, JobKeeper ended on the 28th of March. The tourism industry, I think, have an extension of that. So they're still covered with JobKeeper for a few months. But the other industries are expected to have returned to their pre-COVID capacity. If they haven't, then it is expected that they had post-COVID arrangements made with their employees. So if you did that, those would be enforced now. If you didn't, and you're having some cash flow issues and you're unable to meet your obligations to your employees, you would need to contact us immediately so that we can give you some options as to what you need to do, which would include restructuring your business and conducting some redundancies. Redundancies are not straightforward processes where you call in your employees and tell them you don't have a job anymore. It requires a consultation process where you talk to your employees about what you're wanting to achieve with the restructure, and then once you have that feedback and have made all considerations possible, continue on with the redundancy. Now, they need to be genuine. If you're unable to show that you genuinely do not have a need of these positions anymore, whether they are full-time positions that need to be scaled back to part-time or casual, or whether the whole position itself is not needed anymore, that two different things that you're looking at. Some employers need to reduce some position hours, and some employers need to get rid of the whole position. They need to they have absorbed the whole position with another position. Sorry, that is not clear. So it might be where employers might be in a position where they need to reduce employee hours, and if that is the case, they still need to perform a redundancy from whatever position that is, whether it's full-time, part-time, to either part-time or casual, or it could be a matter where a position is absorbed by another position and it no longer exists. That also would require a redundancy. So give us a call to find out what your options are and how to conduct the redundancies to ensure that they're genuine and that you're not faced with a situation where your employees think you're trying to get rid of them and go for an unfair dismissal.
so now the JobKeeper has come to an end. I understand the government's moved on to a job maker hiring credit.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about what that is?
Yes, it's a scheme that the government has devised to allow employers to add on more staff to their companies. By doing so, if they engage employees who are between the ages of 16 and 35, they would be getting some monetary incentive paid to them on a weekly basis. There's an extensive list as to the eligibility, but you need to be an Australian company, you need to have an Australian business number, be registered for pay-as-you-go withholding, report through a single-touch payroll, be up to date with your income tax and GST lodgement obligations for the last 2 years, and make sure that you're not on the JobKeeper payments a fortnight before you start receiving the job maker hiring credits. Yeah. So for all the employers who are in the retail business, if you're looking at adding on your to your employees, maybe you scaled back during JobKeeper and you're looking to add more employees into your business, this is a good incentive for you to think about when you're making those decisions.
Okay, so I think that's very helpful for people in the retail sector. And of course, if they have any more questions, if you're a subscriber to BetterHR, you can contact us, or you can log into your BetterHR software account to access the HR tools and advice that we have there. If you're not a subscriber, you can contact us to learn more about how we can help your business. And if you're an AGHA member, you can contact AGHA for a referral, which entitles you to free HR advice from our team of experts here at BetterHR. So thank you very much, Weda.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. I hope that's helped you and your business. Have a lovely day.